But yeah. But when you go for a big match there, just like at Wigan, when you go for a big match, another stadium that's too big most of the time. But when it's full, these stadiums are fantastic because they've got more people in, because they can comfortably fit more people in.
But you know something, where Huddersfield still falls down, and so does Wigan, is because they're grounds with full sides, and I want grounds that have corners filled in.
Okay.
Better. Because you don't get the wind blowing across you otherwise.
Yeah.
And they keep the noise in better.
I think
and
there's an argument to be said about that because of the size of them. I think when it's a smaller stadium and it's separate stands, the noise doesn't go out as much. Like at Salford, when their home ends singing, it's noisy, I think. But because the roof's lower and the noise kind of congregates more, doesn't it? Because the people are closer together as well. Well, they used to be. So...
yeah, they're not allowed to be anymore.
So yeah. Mark Stevo at MarkStevo72 said, favourite away grounds, Cass and Fev. Worst place, the Willows. Best place, Old Trafford / Ellen Road. So Mark's a Leeds fan. So obviously Cass and Fev are quite close and rivalries and stuff like that. The Willows. Who amongst us went to the Willows?
Loads of times. Loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went once.
I've been once.
That stand down the side, right? I'm convinced that people should walk up to the back of it, have a ladder down at the back, and then run around to the front so they could go up again. Because there is no way that number of people could fit in that stand.
They'd go down a slide at the other end.
Yeah, I'm convinced of it. I'm just waiting for Salford fans somewhere to confirm it for me.
When I was going to the Willows, so I don't know if always the ground was configured this way in terms of where the away fans went, but I assume it was, because the away fans would go at the end opposite the social club end. And
you see, home fans and away fans used to get that side stand together.
Right.
For a while.
Well, maybe every time I went, I was at the end where they'd built the stand with the seats at the top and the terrace at the bottom.
Yeah.
And what I loved is it was like double height terracing. So you could always see. It's the opposite of Wakefield in terms of ability to watch. I can't see anyone see the Willows as the worst place because it was the greatest place to be able to see.
They did move it so that away fans were there. Years gone by, away fans could go wherever they wanted.
Right.
So it used to be a bit like, I guess, at Cass, where that long stand is kind of half and half.
Right. Yeah. So, Tom, have you always been tall, or would you have benefited from the double height steps when you were there, or were you even 6 foot as a kid?
I've been about 6 foot since I was about 12, I think. As old pictures would suggest. I don't really remember much from being there, apart from there was nothing near it, and I was bemused that it was in the middle of a council estate at the time. I was quite young.
You have to be careful that you can't get bricked.
Yeah, it was my first ever away match, and you had to walk under the stand to get to the stand that you were allowed in. And then on the way out, our coach.
That was one drawback of the Willows, actually, wasn't it? Yeah, there was often people were worried about the car getting broken into as well as bricks and stuff. Yeah.
And the coach set on fire on the free. It was
got all that way before setting on fire.
Yeah.
We coming back from the Sheffield Challenge Cup final in 1998, so we'd already had a bad enough day, and my uncle's radiator went on his car. But I don't know how well you guys know the northwest of England, but basically would be all the way up the M6 and all of that. And then the last service station, the service station nearest to Preston is Charnock Richards Services. We got all the way to the last service station before we got home. We went into the service station, came out, the radiator went, so we'd gone out of the last service station, had to pull into like a lathe, like the hard shoulder, that close to home. We'd done all of that journey, so it's the same sort of thing, I guess, as your coach. Who we got next? Christopher Jones at Jonesy LFC 7752, but we won't hold that Twitter handle against him. He said, Wyatt away, packed away, and great atmosphere between the fans. Wakefield away, the worst ground, no atmosphere, even under the lights. And you have to walk through a cemetery to where the coaches park up. And they said the best ground in the league is a bit biased, but it's a totally wicked stadium. I think he's kind of summed that up pretty well. Have you ever been to a Wakefield game in the sort of either end of the season when it's dark and you have to walk through the cemetery to get back to your car?
I've definitely been when it was February, and I remember it being a bit spooky. Yes, yeah, I'd confirm that. It's it's definitely
Does
it
everyone
fits in
park
very well.
on the other side of the cemetery? Is there anywhere else to park?
I've got a field, like, the other way, I think.
Yeah, I think we come in the other end and don't park near a
right.
cemetery.
I just choose a street and park my car in front of somebody's house.
Yeah, or around the back of someone's house.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing about parking near the cemetery is the residents aren't that fun.
We normally end up down Fieldhouse Street.
No, it's Sugar Lane that the cemetery's on.
There you go.
So I don't know. You like you say, you guys come in from the other side, I suppose.
Yeah.
There you go. Hot
Who's
pack
next,
into
Al? More for the Halliwell Jones.
Lee Whitnell, unsurprisingly, says the HJ with 14k in it, which admittedly is fairly rare, can't be beaten in my very biased opinion. The ultimate is Old Trafford. The noisy finals and the World Cup final is incredible. Wembley doesn't come close to it for me. Oh my goodness me.
Right, well, we'll have that debate then, shall we? Who wants to go first?
I couldn't agree less with Lee on this one. Oxford is a fucking horrible ground. I hate it.
Don't hold back, will you, Alan?
No leg room.
That is true.
Awful.
I'm a short person and I agree with that.
Yeah, there you go.
Look, the leg room's fucking luxury.
Wembley's
compared to
completely the
Anfield.
opposite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but we're not talking about Anfield. We're talking Old Trafford versus Wembley. Wins that one hands down.
Old Trafford's a ground. When we talk about grounds that people have redeveloped but kept the atmosphere and that sort of stuff, Old Trafford has, I think, done that. Certainly, when we go to grand finals, it is noisy. It is noisier generally than Wembley finals, I think. But I don't know if that's just because it kicks off later in the day, so everyone's a bit more drunk, or if there's more people selling more vuvuzelas outside the ground.
It probably is noisier. I just don't like it as much as a viewing experience, personally.
Oh, the new Wembley is the best viewing experience of any stadium in the world that I've been to, I would say.
Yeah, I don't think I could disagree. And that's in. I've sat in expensive seats, I've sat cheap seats, and yeah, both have been fantastic.
So, Alan's voting for Wembley. I'm going to just vote Old Trafford, so that's one vote for each. So, Sarah, which one do you prefer, Old Trafford or Wembley?
You see, it's a difficult one because it depends what we're judging it on. In terms of atmosphere, I think Old Trafford, you get a better atmosphere.
Whatever you want to judge it on,
then,
weigh it all up.
I want to come down firmly on the fence, I think
Fair
that's
enough,
my problem. Because, like, Wembley is Wembley, as it's something special.
Do you think that new Wembley is still something special versus old Wembley?
I never went to Old Wembley.
Having been to both, then for me it still is, because it's got everything around it is still atmospheric and special.
For me, is far better to watch sport in than the old stadium. If you were in the cheap seats, the low down seats in the old stadium, you could hardly see over the person in front of you. And they didn't have the seats didn't have a full back to them. It wasn't a comfortable experience. The new Wembley is right. So we're at one each still because we've got one fence sitter. So Tom, Wembley or Old Trafford? So it's 2-1 to Wembley. Paige.
Yes.
I'm going to go with Wembley, but I like the fact that when you're playing at Old Trafford, it's like under the lights, and I think that creates a better atmosphere. But one thing I don't like about Old Trafford is last time we went, we'd won tickets and we were sat quite high up. That nearly killed me walking up all those stairs. So Wembley,
and they sort of buried a bit of Wembley. So like the bottom part where you go in at Wembley isn't pitch level, is it? You go in above pitch level because of the way they built the concourse around the stadium.
It's very cleverly built. I mean, I know it took way too long and cost a bunch of money, but it's you can see where the money on
too long.
Wembley.
Let's move on.
Yeah, go on.
No, it's me again. So who's next, Sarah?
It is Sandy Shipley. What are your favourite away grounds to visit? Leeds or Newcastle? Where's the worst place you've watched a game? Widnes, won't go there again. Where's the best place you've watched a game? Lamport, Pelty Central. Sorry, she's like...
So none of us have been to Lamport, have we? So we can't comment on more than what we've seen. But it does look like a bit of a fun time going to Lamport. Paige, you made a mention of Newcastle before. That's a second mention for Newcastle's ground there.
No, it was Tom on it that mentioned Newcastle.
No, Paige mentioned the Thunder ground, didn't you?
Newcastle Thunder, yeah.
I assumed that's what Sandy meant, but maybe she meant St James's Park.
Well, either or, they're both pretty good grounds.
Luke Crossfield. It's a new one on me, so thanks for getting in touch, Luke. He said favourite away is Wire away, worst are Cass and Wakey. I guess facilities is driving him there, and best. Ever, kind of biased because he's a Leeds fan who's a Brisbane fan, but is picked Headingley and Suncorp Stadium. So yeah, I've never been lucky enough to go to Australia to watch a game yet. But Suncorp does look special.
Yep, can't disagree with that. Bradley Abbott says best Weldon Road for atmosphere, worst Weldon Road for being a dump. And his best, but he's also gone for Headingley. And also, Bradley's sitting on the fence. He's going Old Trafford and Wembley. I guess
apart from the Headingley part.
Sarah's camp. Yeah.
We can assume from that. Do you think that Brad's a Leeds fan? In which case, he's shot right back at Fatboy Rob.
Yes, I think that's a reasonable suggestion.
Who's next, Sarah?
Next is the Swiss Cowboy.
No, Mike.
He says, as I haven't visited.
Oh, is he not on yours? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he is. Mike Dodd said, I've only started going to away games in the last couple of years, but I've really enjoyed the old-fashioned stays in the Jungle and Bellevue. Might have been able to say Lamport, but my flight got for this week. Best place has to be the Hall Jones, not biased at all.
because Mike wrote flight got cancelled in his tweet, that tweet got retweeted and liked by some get your flight refunds here Twitter handle. Did you notice that? I thought that was
no, I didn't actually.
I was like, anything to get our impressions up. Who's next now? Yes,
go with Karsten. So Karsten says, I haven't visited so many grounds. I just rate them all. So 1300 Smile or 1300 Teeth, depending on your the ground where I fell in love with the game and saw the legends that are JT live. Weldon Road, another vote for there. So far my favourite. Could be influenced by the medication and the pints I had on this day. The fans, Rob and his crew and Josh, who made his way into enemy territory. Fantastic occasion. Also mentions for Headingley, brand new and a really good atmosphere. Sadly, Josh and Hodge left him to watch the game on his own. The nutrition or Post Office Road, whatever you want to call it, the Challenge Cup place anyway. You watched 2 amateur games with 400 people and no atmosphere. But apparently the pub after the game was better. Camp Nou, fantastic event, great atmosphere and a great evening after the game. Again, that's talking about the event. And Ealing, well, it was different. Shit weather, funny conversations, and a ranting Mark made it a good trip.
The whole game with him, and it was a game that Wigan lost, so he got to enjoy that. Some of you guys went to the Ealing Trail Finders last year, didn't you, Sarah? And Tom, you went to